Yeah.
Like people don't do it, you know, back, you know, sure, obviously. More. We're not drawing. No, I heard a lot of it. I'm not strong. Right, I say. Yeah. And Sam Walsh is in there, so we kind of, they're wearing things.
It's like spreading.
Were they hit by a truck?
No.
It was just like in the middle, it was just like a crosswalk. Yeah.
On a car, you know, and the mom just fired that. Oh, nice.
We're still there. See you. Yeah. It was just. It's a pretty good start. My bone structure is fine, I understood that. My muscular structure is fine.
Nice having
Oh, yeah. Thank you.
All right, we will call to order this hearing of the Park City Board of Education to discuss the closure of this school for Treasure Mountain Junior High School. We will start with the pledge of allegiance.
Yeah. We don't have a flag. I could find one. Security, fix that.
See, hold on,
Hold
you're
on,
on the phone.
hold on.
Yeah, hold on.
Is flag, she's a flag in her room?
Our classrooms too, our
You
library.
wanna go grab one?
Yeah.
He's got one right there. Okay, there it is.
Yeah.
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, great. So the purpose of this hearing is to hear from our constituents, any public comment with regards to the closing of this school for the purpose of realignment. The ninth grade will be going to the high school, the eighth grade will be going to Akron. Does anyone here have any comments? Yes.
I have a comment.
Will you state your name, please?
Pardon me?
State your name.
Brian Schiller. I've been a resident of Park City for 43 years. Park Meadows, just a couple blocks away. And I probably should mention I was the first principal at Treasure Mountain Middle School.
Really?
Wow, awesome.
From the fall of '82, I was the last principal of Carl Winters. From the fall of '82 until I departed in July of 1992.
Wow.
I'll get it right, and I'm here to support the decision to close Treasure Mountain, and I hope it is demolished. I'm here because 7 of my colleagues, dear friends, who spent time in this building. As you know, Superintendent, many windowless rooms in this building. They passed away. Perhaps because of their time here. They were unlike the students. They were typically assigned one classroom where they spent the day. Didn't move around the building much. The people who passed away were people who were often in windowless rooms. They were people who were assigned a classroom, and we had a 7-period day then. And we taught kids, had 6 classes and a study or PE or something else for the 7. The teachers taught 6 of the 7 sections or 7 classes each day, 1 prep period. And a little different than it is now with Friday afternoon prep for everybody in the district, which is a great thing. 4 of them probably were not probably, were severely affected by respiratory issues. I think they call it ARDS, and they also were afflicted with neuropathies of a significant nature. Carla Hunt, the beloved Jim Santee, who lived around the corner. Bill Hockey, although he passed away in a different form, he also had neuropathy and ARDS. And several teachers who passed away of cancer. Bill Witt, I was with him before I hired him. When he made his first hole-in-one at Park City. Linda Crowther, who taught 4th grade. She was transferred here when the teachers came in Parley. Parley's was overcrowded. So they moved first, the 5th grade joined us when we opened in the fall of '82. And then about 2 years or 3 years later, 4th grade joined us as well. Linda was quite resistant, but her husband was Bud was the industrial arts teacher. He also suffered from cancer, but he has not passed away. Judy Holt. I spent 42 years in education. He was our counselor. Counselor's offices were around the corner over here. They were windowless offices. He passed away of cancer. Mary Weiss, they were able to hire towards the end of my tenure. She also has passed away of cancer, also in a windowless office for her tenure here. Most of these people passed away after I left in '92. And it was a very difficult thing. Diane Vance actually died of sepsis, but she died in emergency treatment for cancer. And one of our students that I know very well, I know her mother, and Courtney's still with us, thank God, but she's a 2-time breast cancer survivor. And she feels that there's a connection, a relationship. I realize it's impossible to demonstrate cause and effect conclusively, but she's a 2-time breast cancer survivor. And there are other students who declined to be named, who had significant health issues, usually cancers, but mostly it was among the faculty. And I think those people should be remembered and recognized. They were all great teachers, great friends. I didn't hire all of them, but I hired most of them. And we did a lot of great stuff. We had a good time while we were doing this. And we were a very cohesive faculty. We were a young faculty, teachers who were outstanding educators, and people who were in the business as a career. It was not a starting point or a stopping point for moving on to something else. Every one of these people were career people who spent many, many years educating the young people of Park City. So I think it's important to recognize them. And I really think demolishing this building, closing this building is the appropriate thing to do, because we shouldn't put, even though I think the problems have been resolved, most of these had to do with the HVAC system. I think they've been resolved, but I think they came at a great price. And it was after I left that those issues were addressed and finally resolved. So we spent 10 years here at least before they were addressed. And we had many happy times here as well. We did programs that unfortunately, for a variety of reasons, are typically not done in schools today. And I think our kids benefited from that. And I always believed in my 42 years of education that kids who were having fun in school were kids who were learning in school. And I think Treasure Mountain was a great example of that. So thank you for your time. Thank you for listening. And I think take the appropriate action and go through with it. Even though there might be appeals to save the building, I don't think that should be the case.
Thank you very much for your words. Thanks for your service to the kids here. Appreciate that.
The legacy of Treasure and it being a fun learning environment continued and will continue until the last day of school in June, just so you know.
That's good.
Proud to say that legacy still exists here and we're having fun and learning.
That's
So
good.
just know that that legacy is still here. And it will continue till the last day of school this year.
Do you still continue outdoor ed?
The outdoor ed program, so is the hearing, so maybe we're supposed to comment on that. The outdoor ed programming at the high school got paused around COVID, and there's discussion to bring it back, but we don't currently have it here at Treasure.
We started that in my first year, 81, and we took all of our sixth graders, all of our seventh graders, and all of our eighth graders to Arches. And then, of course, we realized that sixth and seventh graders couldn't go back to Arches the next year. So we took the sixth graders to the national park on the Green River, just the other side of Vernal. I think that's, what's the name of it? Dinosaur National Monument then. Now I think it's a national park now. And then we took seventh graders. We went 1 year, we took the Craters of the Moon, because they'd already been to Arches. And then we took eighth graders to Yellowstone. And then they repeated that cycle. And we were able to take every kid. We found a way to, dare I say it, have a little slush money. And for those kids who couldn't afford to go, that was a non-issue. So we typically had about 45 to 50, 60 kids in a class at that time. So Patty Fellows was the driver they all wanted. And so Patty went with us on every trip. And we did that for the next 10 years. So 11 years, we took kids on outdoor ed, took them all over. Got snowed out of Yellowstone one time. So we ended up taking the eighth graders to the newest national park at the time, Great Basin National Park. And the kids were, eighth graders can be occasionally a bit challenging, but when we took them to see the ancient trees at over 10,000 feet in elevation, Park City kids had no problem because we live at 6,800 feet. We took them up and they were blown away that they were looking at 4,300-year-old living creatures that were just blown away. You know, it was a great trip. I remember it vividly. So, anyway, thank you for listening and
Thank you for sharing.
Good luck with your final decision.
Thank you. You guys have any comment?
No, I wasn't sure how we got to this point, so I'm just kind of curious how we got to the point, but that's maybe not the discussion, so.
Yeah, I mean,
I mean-
it, just in quick summary, it's born from the, realignment of the district. So we did a master planning exercise a few years back, prior to all the different construction projects that are going on in each school. It was determined by the community, as well as staff, a pretty general consensus that, this building had outlived its, its usefulness, the way it was built, and that it was better for the students to have ninth grade at the high school and eighth grade at Eckers. There were fewer transitions. Instead of two during middle school years. And, you know, we set that in process, I guess, 3 or 4 years ago. And this is kind of the final step. All of the construction at the high school will be completed, the high school and at Ecker will be completed in time for fall next year. And so this is the last year of this school being in service.
We moved in the fall of '82, and the northern half of the building was not complete, but the kitchen was finished. So they served in the hallway, and the kids took their luncheons back, their luncheon trays back to their classrooms. And then that part was finished in about January or February. And then we used the entire building. And one of my favorite stories is that, you know, middle school kids are wont to fill up their compartmentalized trays with not only their food, but various condiments. And of course, the second kid out of the door, after we had gotten the use of what we used to call the multi-purpose room, had this big pile of ketchup. And of course, as again, 6th or 7th graders are wont to do, he tripped over the carpet, just like this. And that stayed there for the next 10 years. Try as we might to remove the stain, it didn't, it wasn't easily removed. And you should all know Riley Ward. He works at the market, and Riley is severely autistic and has other cognitive challenges. But I had Riley's older brother, Cordell, and we were good friends with the parents. And Riley, when he was we took him because there wasn't any special ed programming at the time. This was the early 80s. It was just beginning to emerge. And so Riley was in our special ed room because we didn't quite know what else to do with him. Every day I took him down to the kitchen and he would watch the big stand mixer go around and around, and he loved that. And every day I did that, every day for 3 years. And finally they got a program for children with those kinds of severe situations in Salt Lake. So we were able to get him placed there. And, but he still walks around in town. You see Riley. And
Coca-Cola.
yeah, and he's a dear friend. So one day not long ago, actually not this past summer, but summer before, I had already talked to Riley, and Riley continued on his walk and started to thunder and lightning and rain. And Riley came back and said, "I know you, can you give me a ride home?" And that, we don't want to lose that in Park City. We don't want to lose the ability for everyone to know Riley and to take care of him and support him. And so I would say, I know the new buildings are great, but I wish you had done smaller buildings and more buildings, more human scale, rather than, let's say, industrial scale. And I think as you go forward as a board, I would encourage you to strongly consider adding buildings, even if it's slightly more expensive. This community can afford that. We have the luxury of affording that. And it's the best thing for our kids. I finished my career for 15 years at Cranbrook in Bloomfield Hills, Michigan. We had an elementary school of 510 kids. And it was marginally too big, but we found smallness within largeness. And I would say, as you make decisions about facilities, keep in mind that in the larger facilities, somebody's always left behind or left out. And it's really challenging, even with the best of intentions, to not do that. It still happens. And I think we know the community is left behind in Park City. I have a lot of comments.
There you go. Keep going. Thanks.
Well, we have one right there, and we'll talk after this
Yeah,
hearing.
you gotta hear about what
much-
Ann's doing on the
Yes.
side, your side.
Yeah.
job.
I hear you.
All right, with no other comment,
You don't have comment?
Not really. I live on Lucky John. I'm the HOA president for Holiday Ranch. And, really, I think the meeting that matters is next week, but came today to start to get a feel.
great. All right, with no further comment on, this hearing, I will accept a motion to close this hearing.
Make a motion to close this hearing.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right, this hearing is closed.
Thank you for coming on.
Thank you.
Does that mean it gets demolished then, or what does that mean by?
The decision hasn't